Hey guys, today we're working on a Honda 2006 Honda Foreman ES electronic shift, and we're going to be working on oil change. A few things you guys are going to need for the successful oil change. You're going to of course need a little more than 2 quarts of oil potentially, so we went ahead and got 3 quarts of oil. Went and got our Honda oil filter. I think that you could get something aftermarket as well as use aftermarket oil personally, and so far it's about $28 or so for this oil change. Very simply, the tools you're going to need today, you're just going to need an 8mm socket, a 17mm socket. You can also use these trick little T-handles, T-bar wrenches if you've got them. Also you'll need a Phillips screwdriver to help you get the cover off. So far what we've done so far is we've just taken the plastic cover off, and you see the oil filter actually sits behind these 3 bolts right here. So we're going to go ahead and take those off, and then before we do that though, we're going to come underneath here, and on the very bottom you guys should be able to see the 17mm bolt there that's the drain plug. So we're going to go ahead and get that taken off. So right now, as you can see, we're draining the oil out from the bottom of this bike. It does take a couple of quarts of oil. I was reading online somewhere in the 2.5 quart range. So I'm hoping this container that I have that's a few quarts tall will be able to do the trick. And we did run the quad for a little bit beforehand. Just let it idle for just a couple of minutes just to kind of heat the oil up. I do think that helps reanimate any of the dust particles and things like that that are around in the oil and makes draining just a little bit easier. We do also have a floor jack under the quad right now, just because it provided a little bit better camera angle. You definitely don't necessarily need one. Next, we're going to take off the oil cover here. This is going to take and cover the oil filter. You can use, like I said, you can use the T-handle wrench like I'm doing here. You can also take and use a socket, but got to be real careful when you're putting this back together that you don't over tighten these bolts, because they are just little 8mm bolts, and you don't want to have to re-tap your case here. Right, and expect just a little bit of mess here. You want to pull this straight off so you don't hurt the oil filter. Or specifically the little O-ring there. Once again, you are going to lose a little bit of oil. It's no big deal. I do want to mention, when you pull this thing out, that there is a right and a wrong way to put these filters in. The original Honda ones are marked really well. Let's say outside on the end of them. But what you can remember, there's a dimple on the inside. That goes up against the spring and helps locate the spring on the inside there. So make sure when you put the new one on, you're going to put it on the same direction. I'm cleaning off the inside here, just making sure that there's 2 O-rings in here. There's this little guy, and then there's the one that seals around this outside edge. That's what should do your sealing. Just trying to make sure we get any of the extra oil out of there a little bit. The new oil filter, of course this is a Honda OEM product, so of course it says outside on it, toward, let's say, toward filter cover. So it's pretty straightforward on this one. On getting it back in there, you'll notice there's just a little bit of spring there in it. The cover itself, we just wanted to take and make sure that we got the O-ring wiped off really well, which we did. And then what we're going to do is take, and we're actually going to use a little bit of this oil here, because these O-rings actually do a little bit better when you lube them ever so slightly when you're reassembling. So we're just going to use some of that used oil there, just wipe it on that O-ring as we reassemble this guy. Just make sure that you get everything lined up, and you should just be able to push it back on there with not a whole lot of force. Then we're going to put in back on these little 8mm guys, and I like to use my T-wrench, handle wrench, just because it helps me to keep from killing this thing when we tighten it back up. Let's go on ahead and getting this cover on, and using our T-handle wrench, you give it a good little push there, but we're just snugging it up. If I had to guess, I would say somewhere around 10 foot-pounds of torque or so, maybe a little bit more than that. But And you're right, that should be good and snug. I'm going to take a little bit of engine cleaner here when I'm done and kind of go over things. That way it's nice and clean when we give it back. I want to take for a moment and look at the squash washer here. Some guys reuse these washers and have really good luck reusing them. This one, you can see it's actually got quite a bit of mark there where it's been over tightened. Looks like a few times in the past. You can see that lip there on the bottom. The new washers, you can see it's pressed in on the inside like that, on that inside lip too. Now the new washer that came from Honda, this is actually a Honda OEM part. It actually has a rounded or kind of a convex surface on one side, and it's flat, perfectly flat on the other side. So you want to make sure that you get the flat side on there. That goes towards the engine, because that's actually what's going to do the sealing, is seal right between that and the engine itself. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing put back in. You might be wondering what good your receipt is, and today we actually have a use for the receipt. We're going to take this guy and use him as a funnel, because I forgot to get a funnel today, and that's fine. Good news is you can make a pretty cheap and easy funnel here without too much work. All you need is a piece of paper, a little bit of painter's tape here, or any other type of taping device, and you've got yourself a very simple funnel here that we're going to use. So let's jump up here and get this guy filled up. Now we're going to take and put 2 quarts in, because it's my understanding this bike takes just a little over 2 quarts, so we'll put 2 quarts in and then stop and take a look at it. Alright, so we've got 2 quarts put in so far. Take our awesome funnel out. Just going to give this a gentle wipe there. Now to check the oil level, these are designed to actually take and screw it all the way in, so you got to be quick. Screw it in just so it's snug, and let's take it out. See how we're doing. Yep, and we look good. We're above the mark in the middle, about halfway up further, so I'm going to say that that's fine for now. What we're going to do now is actually start this thing up, let it idle for just a couple of minutes, then cool back down, and then at that point we can take and check for leaks and get it done there. Now what I also wanted to show you is a lot of times it'll say oil change right here on the dash. What you can actually do is if you hold down the odometer and the reset button at the same time, just with the key on, you'll see the oil change light up there and then go off. So that's how you can reset that oil light if you need to. Alright, let's go ahead and get this guy started. We'll let it idle for a couple minutes here. So at this point, the only thing we're going to do left is check for leaks. Definitely want to check the drain plug on the bottom and then check right underneath here. Maybe take a little engine cleaner and get everything cleaned up, and you'll be good to go. I did want to mention I did remove some of the extra plastics here because I was doing some additional work on this bike. But as for an oil change, that should get you going. Just check the oil again, and recommend checking the oil before you go out and ride, and you'll be good to go. Have a good day, guys.